The 72nd Highlanders was a British Army Highland infantry regiment of the line raised in the late 18th century in Scotland for service against the French. In 1881 the regiment was linked with the 78th Regiment to form the 1st and 2nd Battalions of the Seaforth Highlanders. Origin and early history. In 1771 the family title of Earl of Seaforth was restored to Kenneth Mackenzie after his family had forfeited it because of their involvement in the Jacobite Rebellion of 1715. As a gesture of gratitude, the Earl offered to raise a regiment on his estate for general use by the Crown. The offer was accepted and a corps of 1,130 men was raised. Of these, 900 were Highlanders and the remainder coming from the lowlands, and was located at Elgin, its first base, in May 1778. In August 1778 the regiment marched to Leith for embarkation to the East Indies, but a dispute regarding the terms of service led the men to march back to Edinburgh, and they took up a position of protest in the vicinity of Arthur's Seat, remaining for several days. During this protest, the men were amply supplied with food and ammunition by the populace of the capital, who had taken side with them in the grievances. After 3 days of negotiations, compromises were reached and the men again marched from the capital to the quarters at Leith, this time led by the Earl of Seaforth, but the idea of sending them to India now having been abandoned. At this time, the regiment was designated as the 78th Regiment of Foot. During the regiment's early history they were deployed as follows: 1781 to 1798, East Indies. Embarked on the 12th of June from Portsmouth with a unit strength of 973 rank and file. Because of change of diet, rough seas and scurvy, 274 had died on the voyage, and on arrival at Madras on the 2nd of April 1782, only 369 were fit to carry arms. They joined the army of Sir Ekut at Chingleput at the beginning of May, but because of the general health, they were considered unfit for service. Those able to wield arms were drafted into the 73rd Regiment. By October they had recovered the strength and the colours were once again unfurled to allow the regiment to take part in the wars against Tipu Sahib. At this time, the Earl of Seaforth died and was replaced by Lieutenant Colonel Humberston Mackenzie, who in turn was killed on the 7th of April 1783 on board the sloop HMS Ranger in action against a Maratha fleet on his return from Bombay to Madras. He was succeeded by Major General James Murray. The men had enlisted for a 3-year period of service, and at the end of this term most returned to England, save for 425 who elected to remain in India. They were joined by men from other regiments who had also elected to remain on the subcontinent instead of taking the discharge home. This bolstered the regiment's number to 700 men. At the end of the war with the French, the number of Crown regiments had been reduced and the Seaforth's designation was changed from the 78th Foot to the 72nd Foot on the 12th of September 1786. In 1789 the war against Tipu Sahib started, and the 72nd were to see service in the actions of Dindigul, Palgacheri, Bangalore, Seringaptam, Savandroog, and the 1794 victory over Tipu, which marked the end of the Second Mysore War. The regiment eventually embarked from Madras back to England on the 10th of February 1798, being awarded the title Hindustan on its colours. The regiment fired at protesters during the Preston strike of 1842, killing 5 or so. Timeline: the 15th of May 1778, 78th Highland Regiment of Foot was passed fit for service at Elgin, Mauritius. September 1778, mutiny of Macraes at Edinburgh en route to Channel Islands garrison. 1778 to 1781, Channel Islands garrison. April 1779 – repulse French attack on Jersey. January 1781 – help repulse French attack on Jersey. March 1781 to Portsmouth for sailing to India as part of East India Company Army. 1782 to 1798 India. March 1782 arrive Carnatic, India. Lose Highland dress for tropical service. 250 lost at sea during voyage, including the Earl of Seaforth. 1782 to 1783 fight at Albany, port of Cuddledore, fort of Pallicoctory. Naval battle. 1786 – 78th Highlanders renumbered as 72nd Regiment of Foot when the total number of infantry regiments was reduced to 77. As a unit on overseas service, the 78th Highlanders were spared disbandment and moved up the order of precedence. 1786 to Mysore, India. 1789 to 1792 campaign against Tipu Sultan. Bangalore, Savandroog, Outradurgam, Seringapatam. 1793 siege and capture of French Pondicherry. 1795 capture of Ceylon from the Dutch. 1798 drafts of men sent to other regiments. Cadre returned to Scotland for recruiting. 1798 to Perth, reissued Highland dress. 1800 to Ireland as police troops. 1805 capture of Cape of Good Hope from Dutch. Fight alongside 71st and 93rd Highlanders. Lt. Col. Grant commanding. 1806 Cape Town garrison at Winnaburg. 1809 redesignated 72nd Regiment of Foot to help with recruiting. No longer authorized to wear Highland dress. 1810 it capture of Mauritius from French. Remain as garrison troops. 1814 return to Cape Town. 1815 to Calcutta, India. 1816 return to Cape Town. Remain in South Africa as part of Cape Province garrison. 1822 return to England. 1823 to Channel Islands. Companies split between Guernsey and Jersey. The 19th of December 1823 renamed the 72nd Regiment of Foot, or the Duke of Albany's own Highlanders. Uniform of Royal Stuart Trews and Highland bonnet introduced. September 1824 return to Scotland for first time in 24 years. Approved the use of the Duke of Albany's cipher as regimental badge. 1825 to Ireland. Stationed in Belfast, London, Derry and Dublin. 1827 to London. 1828 returned to Cape Colony. 1834 Kosa War. 1835 to Grahamstown, South Africa. 1838 to Cape Town. 1840 to Portsmouth. 1841 Royal duties in Windsor. 1842 riot duty in Manchester, Preston, Blackburn and Bolton. August 1842 4 cotton workers killed by 72nd in Preston during protests at wage cuts. 1843 to Ireland. Stationed in Dublin, Templemore and Fermoy. 1844 to Gibraltar garrison. 1848 to West Indies. Stationed in Barbados, Trinidad, St. Lucia, Demerara, Grenada and Tobago. 1851 to Halifax, Nova Scotia. 1854 to Limerick. 1855 to Malta. 1855 Crimean War. 1856 to Aldershot, then the Channel Islands. 1857 to India via Shorncliffe, Kent. 1858 arrive Bombay. Indian Mutiny. 1859 to MHOW. 1865 to Pune. 1866 to Edinburgh. 1867 to England. 1868 to Ireland. stationed in Dublin, Limerick, Budford, Cork 1871 to India, stationed in Umballa, Peshawar, now Cherit, Sialkot, April 1873. Linked regiments. Depot system links the 72nd with the 91st Highlanders at 58th Brigade Depot, Stirling 1878 to 1882nd, Afghan War 1880 to Myanmar, Lucknow, India 1881. Amalgamated with 78th Highlanders as 1st Battalion. Seaforth Highlanders. Battle honours. Battle honours won by the regiment were Hindustan, Cape of Good Hope 1806, Crimean War, Sevastopol, Central India, Second Anglo-Afghan War, Biwak-Hotel, Karasayab, Kabul 1879, Afghanistan 1878-80, Kandahar 1880. Victoria Cross recipients: Lieutenant Aylmer Spicer Cameron, Indian Mutiny; Lance Corporal George Seller, Second Afghan War. Colonels of the regiment. Colonels of the regiment were Lieutenant Colonel Commandants. Seaforth Regiment 1777 to 1781. Col. Kenneth Mackenzie, 1st Earl of Seaforth. 78th Regiment of Foot, or Seaforth Regiment 1782 to 1783. Col. Thomas Frederick Mackenzie Humberdsony, 1783 to 1786. Lt. Gen. James Murray. Colonels 72nd Regiment of Foot 1786 to 1794. Lt. Gen. James Murray, 1794 to 1798. Lt. Gen. Sir Adam Williamson, K.B., 1798 to 1815. Gen. James Stewart, 72nd Regiment of Foot 1815 to 1817. Gen. Sir Rowland Hill, 1st Viscount Hill, GCB, GCH, KC, 1817 to 1823. Gen. Sir George Murray, GCB, GCH, 72nd Regiment of Foot 1823 to 1836. Lt. Gen. Sir John Hope, GCH, 1836 to 1847. Lt. Gen. Sir Colin Campbell, KCB, 1847 to 1851. Lt. Gen. Sir Neil Douglas, KCB, KCH, 1851 to 1870. Gen. Sir John Atchison, GCB, 1870. Gen. Charles George James Arbuthnot, 1870 to 1881. Gen. Charles Gascoigne, 1881. Gen. Sir Edward Selby Smith, KCMG,